The shuttle shook violently as it passed through the strange energy field. Sergeant Jake Morrison gripped his seat harder, watching the instruments go crazy in front of him. Red lights flashed across every panel, and alarms screamed warnings that made no sense. "We're losing control!" shouted Lieutenant Amy Foster from the pilot seat. Her hands moved fast over the controls, but nothing responded. "The engines are dead! We're being pulled in!" Jake looked out the window and saw something that made his blood run cold. A massive ship floated in the darkness of space, bigger than anything humans had ever built. It looked alive somehow, with surfaces that seemed to pulse with purple light. The shuttle was being dragged toward it like a fish on a hook. "Brace for impact!" Jake yelled to his team. There were 5 of them on this mission. Danny Price sat across from him, a young corporal who had joined the squad only 6 months ago. Next to Danny was Sophie Lane, their tech specialist. Behind them sat the twins, Kevin and Kyle Martinez, both weapons experts. The shuttle hit something hard. Metal screamed and bent. Jake felt himself thrown forward against his straps. His head cracked against something solid, and stars exploded in his vision. Then everything went dark. When Jake opened his eyes, he didn't know how much time had passed. His head hurt badly. He reached up and felt blood on his forehead. Slowly, he looked around. The shuttle had crashed inside some kind of bay. Purple light filled everything, making it hard to see clearly. "Sound off," Jake said, his voice rough. One by one, his team responded. They were all alive, though Danny had a broken arm and Sophie couldn't walk without help. Jake unbuckled himself and stood up slowly. His legs felt weak, but they held. "We need to move," he said. "Get weapons ready. We don't know what's out there." They gathered what they could from the damaged shuttle. Jake took his rifle, checked it twice, then helped Sophie stand. Kevin and Kyle supported Danny between them. Together, they moved toward the shuttle door. Before they could open it, the door burst inward. Creatures rushed in, moving faster than Jake could track. They were tall, with bodies that looked like they were covered in smooth armor. Their faces had too many eyes, and their hands had too many fingers. Jake tried to raise his rifle, but something hit him hard in the chest. He flew backward and landed on his back, the air knocked out of his lungs. More creatures swarmed over his team. He heard Sophie scream, heard Danny shout in pain. Jake tried to get up, tried to fight, but strong hands held him down. He felt something cold press against his neck, and then the world went fuzzy around the edges. They were dragged through long corridors. Jake's vision kept going in and out, but he saw enough to know they were in trouble. The walls around them looked like they were made of living tissue, breathing and moving. Strange symbols glowed along the surfaces. The air smelled different here, like metal and something sweet he couldn't identify. Finally, they were thrown into a large room. Jake landed on his knees on a floor that felt warm under his hands. He looked up and saw hundreds of the creatures standing around them in a circle. In front of him was a raised platform, and on that platform sat a throne made of what looked like crystal and bone. On the throne sat the most beautiful and terrifying thing Jake had ever seen. She was clearly female, clearly one of these alien creatures, but different from the warriors who had captured them. She wore robes that shimmered like starlight. Her skin was pale purple and seemed to glow from within. Her face was elegant, with high cheekbones and large eyes that were completely black, but somehow full of intelligence and emotion. This had to be their queen. Queen Verana stood up from her throne and walked down the steps. She moved with grace that seemed impossible for something so alien. Her eyes fixed on Jake, and he felt like she could see right through him. She stopped just a few feet away and spoke. The sounds that came from her mouth were nothing Jake had ever heard before, musical and strange. One of the creatures beside her touched a device on its arm. When the queen spoke again, Jake heard her words in English, translated by some machine. "You are human," she said. Her voice was deep and smooth. We have watched your species from afar. You are young and violent, but you survive when others would fail. I am Queen Varana of the Quillari Empire. You have entered our territory. Jake forced himself to stand, even though his whole body hurt. He looked the Queen in the eyes, refusing to show fear. I'm Sergeant Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Force, he said. We didn't mean to intrude. Our ship was caught in an energy field. We want no trouble. Let my people go, and we'll leave your space. The Queen studied him for a long moment. Then something that might have been a smile crossed her alien face. You cannot leave, she said. Your ship is destroyed. Even if it was not, I would not let you go. Not yet. I have need of you, human. My people are dying. A plague has taken our males, left them unable to father children. Our species faces extinction. We have searched the stars for a solution, and now you fall into my hands. Perhaps the universe has sent you to save us. Jake felt cold fear spread through his chest. What do you mean? Varana stepped closer. She was taller than him by several inches. My scientists will study you. They will examine your biology. If the stars favor us, your species and mine may be compatible. You will help us survive, human. In return, I will spare your crew and send them home. You have my word as queen. And if I refuse? Jake asked, though he already knew the answer. Varana's expression didn't change. Then all of you will die here, and I will find other humans to take your place. Make your choice, soldier. Save your people or doom them. It is simple. Jake looked back at his team. Danny was holding his broken arm, his face pale with pain. Sophie could barely stand. The twins looked scared but ready to fight if he gave the word. They would all die here if he said no. They would die, and the Queen would just capture more humans anyway. He turned back to Varana. I want your promise. My people go home safe, no matter what happens with your tests. You have it, Varana said. Jake took a deep breath and nodded. Then I agree. The Queen smiled again. And this time it looked almost sad. Good. Take his crew to the medical bay. Make them comfortable. They will leave tomorrow. Take the sergeant to the preparation chamber. We begin immediately. Warriors grabbed Jake's arms and pulled him away from his team. Danny called his name, but Jake didn't look back. He kept his eyes on the Queen as he was dragged from the room, wondering what he had just agreed to, wondering if he would ever see Earth again. 3 months had passed since Jake's team left without him. He watched from a window as their repaired shuttle flew away toward human space, carrying his message to command and his promise that he would come home someday. That was 90 days ago, and every morning he woke up wondering if he had made the right choice. The room they gave him was comfortable enough. It had a bed that adjusted to his body, a bathroom with water that was safe to drink, and a window that showed the stars. The Quillari treated him well, fed him good food, and never hurt him. But he was still a prisoner, no matter how nice the cage looked. He spent his days learning. The Queen had assigned him a teacher, a young Quillari female named Sireth, who spoke English through a translator device. She taught him their language, their customs, their history. Jake learned that the Quillari had ruled this sector of space for thousands of years. They were scientists and artists, builders and dreamers. They were not the monsters he had first thought them to be. The medical tests had been strange but painless. The Quillari doctors took samples of his blood, his skin, his hair. They scanned his body with machines that hummed and glowed. They asked him questions about human biology, about how humans reproduced, about everything. Jake answered honestly. What else could he do? He had seen Queen Varana only twice since that first day. Once when she came to check on his health, and once when she walked through the gardens where he was allowed to exercise. Both times she had looked at him with those deep black eyes, and both times he had felt something strange pass between them. Not attraction exactly, but recognition. Like two soldiers who understood the weight of duty. On the 91st day, everything changed. Jake was in his room reading a book on Quillari history when the door opened without warning. Cyrith rushed in, her face showing an emotion Jake had learned to recognize as excitement mixed with fear. "The Queen summons you immediately," she said. "Come now. Quickly." Jake stood up, his heart suddenly beating faster. "What's wrong? What happened?" "Just come," Cyrith said, already pulling him toward the door. They ran through the corridors of the bioship, past surprised Quillari, who stopped to stare. Jake had never moved this fast through the vessel before. They climbed stairs and crossed bridges until they reached the medical wing. Guards stood at attention outside a door, and when they saw Jake, they opened it without a word. Inside was a medical chamber filled with machines and screens. A dozen Quillari doctors stood around looking at displays that showed images Jake couldn't understand. In the center of the room, sitting on an examination table, was Queen Varana. She wore simple robes instead of her royal garments, and her face looked pale even for a Quillari. When she saw Jake, something in her expression softened. She dismissed the doctors with a wave of her hand. They left reluctantly, casting worried glances back as they went. Soon only Jake, Varana, and Cyrith remained in the room. "Close the door," Varana said quietly. "Seal it." Cyrith did as ordered, then stood by the exit like a guard. Jake walked closer to the Queen, confused and worried. "What's happening?" he asked. "Are you sick? Did something go wrong with the tests?" Varana laughed, but it was a bitter sound. "Wrong? No, human. Something went impossibly right." She stood up from the table and walked to one of the displays. She touched it, and an image appeared. Jake saw what looked like a medical scan, though he didn't understand what it showed. "Do you know what this is?" Varana asked. Jake shook his head. "No." "Should I?" "This is a scan of my body taken this morning," Varana said. Her hand trembled slightly as she pointed to a bright spot in the center of the image. "This is a child. I am pregnant, Jake Morrison. I am carrying your child." The words hit Jake like a physical blow. He took a step back, his mind refusing to accept what he had heard. "That's impossible. The procedure was supposed to be clinical. They said they were just testing compatibility. They said it would take years of research before they could even try to create a hybrid." "I know what they said," Varana replied. Her voice was sharp now. "I know what I authorized. The procedure was meant to only collect genetic material and test it in laboratory conditions. But something happened. Some connection was made that we do not understand. Your DNA and mine merged naturally, without machines, without engineering. The scientists cannot explain it. They say it should be impossible." Jake sat down hard on a nearby chair. His legs suddenly felt too weak to hold him. "How? How can this be real?" Cyrith spoke from the door, her voice gentle. "The child is growing rapidly. Already it shows signs of both species. It has a heartbeat that matches human rhythm but cellular structure that is Quillari. The doctors have never seen anything like it." Varana turned to face Jake fully. For the first time since he had met her, she looked vulnerable. "I am frightened, human. This child should not exist. Yet it does. It grows inside me and I can feel it. Feel its strength. But I do not know if my body can carry it to term. I do not know if it will kill me or if I will kill it. And I do not know what it means for my people." Jake stood up again and walked closer to her. Without thinking, he reached out and took her hand. It felt warm and strange in his. The fingers too long, the skin too smooth, but it was real, and she was real, and apparently their child was real too. "We'll figure this out," he said, surprising himself with how much he meant it. "You have good doctors. We'll get human doctors too if you need them. We'll do whatever it takes to keep you both safe." Varana looked down at their joined hands, then up at his face. You would help me? Even though this was not what you agreed to? Even though this child will bind you to me and my people forever? Jake thought about that. Thought about Earth, about his life as a soldier, about the simple existence he had before the shuttle crashed. Then he thought about the tiny life growing inside this alien queen, a life that was half his, a life that should not exist, but did. Yeah, he said finally. I'll help. It's what humans do. We protect our kids, no matter what. Something changed in Varana's expression. The fear didn't leave, but something else joined it. Respect, maybe, or hope. Then we must prepare, she said. This news cannot stay secret long. When my people learn of this, there will be chaos. Some will see the child as salvation. Others will see it as corruption. There will be those who try to kill us both to prevent this birth. Let them try, Jake said, and was surprised by the anger in his own voice. I've been in combat before. I know how to protect what matters. Varana pulled her hand away from his and walked to the window. Outside, stars moved slowly past as the bio-ship traveled through space. You do not understand the politics of my people, human. I am young for a queen, and many doubt my ability to rule. This pregnancy will be seen as proof of my desperation, of my willingness to defile our bloodline. Duke Morven, who wanted the throne for himself, will use this against me. Then we'll deal with him too, Jake said. Look, I don't know your politics, and I don't know your customs, but I know this. That child is mine as much as yours, and I'll be damned if I let anyone hurt my kid before it's even born. Sareth made a sound that might have been approval. Varana turned back from the window, and this time she really smiled. It transformed her face, made her look younger and less like a queen and more like a woman facing an impossible situation with courage. Very well, Sergeant Morrison, she said. Then we are allies in this. I will protect the child with my authority and power. You will protect it with your strength and will. Together, perhaps we can bring this impossible life into the universe. Together, Jake agreed. The door suddenly chimed. Cyrith checked a display and her face went pale. My queen, Duke Morven, is outside. He demands entry. He says he knows about the pregnancy. Varana's expression hardened back into royal composure. Of course he does. Someone always talks. Let him in. We might as well face the storm now. Jake moved to stand beside Varana as the door opened. A large Quillari male entered, dressed in elaborate armor that marked him as nobility. His eyes swept over Jake with disgust before settling on Varana. So it is true, Duke Morven said, his translated voice dripping with contempt. You have mated with this primitive creature. You have shamed our entire species. I have saved our species, Varana said calmly, or at least begun to. This child may hold the key to curing the plague that kills our males. This child is an abomination, Morven snarled. He stepped closer, his hand resting on a weapon at his belt. I will not stand by and watch you destroy everything our people have built. Jake moved between them, his own hand ready. He might not have a weapon, but he knew how to fight. Step back, he said quietly, or we're going to have a problem. Morven laughed. You think you can threaten me, human? You are nothing but a breeding animal. Maybe, Jake said, but I'm an animal who's very good at fighting. Want to find out how good? For a long moment, silence filled the room. Then Morven stepped back, his face twisted with rage. The pregnancy progressed faster than anyone expected. In just 5 months, Queen Varana looked ready to give birth. Her body had changed in ways that frightened both her and the Quillari doctors. The child inside her was growing at an incredible rate, feeding on her energy, draining her strength day by day. Jake spent every moment he could with her, He had moved into quarters next to hers, ignoring the angry whispers from conservative Quillari who thought his presence near their queen was an insult. He didn't care what they thought. Varana needed him, and he would be there. On the 150th day since his capture, everything went wrong. Jake woke to the sound of alarms screaming through the bioship. He jumped out of bed and ran to Varana's chamber. Guards stood outside, and their faces showed panic. "What's happening?" Jake demanded. "The Queen," one guard said. "She collapsed. The doctors say the child is taking too much. If it continues, she will die." Jake pushed past them into the room. Varana lay on her bed, surrounded by doctors and machines. Her skin had lost its purple glow and looked almost gray. Her breathing came in short, painful gasps. When she saw Jake, she tried to smile, but it looked more like a grimace of pain. "Jake," she whispered. "The child. You must save the child." "I'm saving both of you," Jake said firmly. He turned to the head doctor, a female Quillari named Hyreth. "What can we do?" Hyreth looked exhausted. "Nothing. We have tried everything. The child is too strong, growing too fast. The Queen's body cannot sustain it any longer. If we do nothing, both will die within hours. If we try to remove the child now, it is too young. It will not survive outside her body." Jake felt cold rage building in his chest. "There has to be something, some option you haven't tried." "There is one possibility," Seereth said from the corner of the room. She had been Varana's constant companion throughout the pregnancy, helping translate and advise. "Human medical science. They have techniques we do not possess. Different approaches to pregnancy complications." "But we would need human doctors here," Hyreth said. "And they would need to understand Quillari biology as well. The coordination would be impossible. We do not have time to teach them everything they would need to know." Jake made his decision in an instant. "Then we'll make time." He pulled out a communication device that Varana had given him months ago. "I'm calling for help." "No," Varana gasped from the bed. "If you contact your people, if human ships come here, it could start a war. My military will see it as an invasion. Your people might try to take me prisoner. We cannot risk it." "I'm risking it," Jake said. "I'm not losing you. I'm not losing our daughter. Not when there's a chance to save you both." He activated the device and spoke clearly. "This is Sergeant Jake Morrison of Earth Defense Force calling any human vessels in range. I am aboard a Quillari bioship at these coordinates. I need immediate medical assistance. This is an emergency. Repeat, this is an emergency." For a long moment, there was only static. Then a voice came through, professional and surprised. "Morrison? This is Captain Linda Hayes of the USS Valiant. We've been searching for you for months. What's your situation?" "No time to explain everything," Jake said quickly. "I need your best medical team and any xenobiologists you have. We have a pregnancy emergency that requires both human and alien medical knowledge. And Captain, you need to approach carefully. The Quillari might see you as hostile. I'll explain everything when you get here." "Understood," Hayes said. "We're 3 hours out. Hold on, Morrison." The next 3 hours were the longest of Jake's life. He sat by Varana's bed, holding her hand while her life slowly drained away. She drifted in and out of consciousness, sometimes whispering words in Quillari that he was starting to understand. She talked about her fears, about her people, about the child they had made together without meaning to. "I wanted to save my species," she whispered during a moment of clarity. "Instead, I may have doomed us both." "You didn't doom anyone," Jake said. "You took a risk. You did what leaders do. You tried something impossible because the alternative was extinction. That takes courage." "Or foolishness," Varana said with a weak laugh. "Same thing sometimes," Jake replied. "Look, I need you to stay with me. Our daughter needs you. She needs her mother. So you fight, understand? You're a queen. Act like it." Varana squeezed his hand with what little strength she had left. "I will try, my soldier." When the USS Valiant arrived, chaos erupted. Quillari warships immediately surrounded the human vessel, weapons charging. Jake had to get on the communications system and beg both sides to stand down. Varana, barely conscious, gave orders to her fleet to allow the humans to board. Her authority as queen was the only thing preventing bloodshed. Captain Hayes came aboard with a team of doctors and scientists. Jake met them in the docking bay, quickly explaining the situation as they ran through the corridors. Hayes was a tall woman with steel-gray hair and sharp eyes. She took in everything he said without judgment or shock. "A human-alien hybrid," she said as they ran. "That's going to rewrite every biology textbook we have. But first, let's make sure your family survives." The human team met with the Quillari doctors in Varana's chamber. There was initial tension, suspicion on both sides. But when they saw Varana dying on the bed, professional instincts took over. Dr. Peter Chen, the human xenobiologist, immediately began working with Hirath to understand the situation. "The child is essentially feeding off her life force," Chen said, studying the scans. "But it's not doing it maliciously. It simply doesn't know how to regulate its own growth. It's growing at a rate that would be normal for a Quillari, but with the energy demands of a human. The combination is lethal." "Can we slow the growth?" Hirath asked. "Not without harming the child," Chen replied. "But we might be able to supplement the queen's energy. Give her body what it needs to sustain both of them until the child is developed enough to survive outside." "How?" Jake demanded. Chen turned to him with a strange expression. "The same way the child was conceived. Through a connection we don't fully understand. You're the father, Morrison. Your biology is compatible with theirs. We might be able to use your cellular energy to stabilize the queen." "Do it," Jake said without hesitation. "Whatever you need from me, take it." The procedure that followed was unlike anything in medical history. Human and Quillari doctors worked together, combining technologies and techniques that had never been used in conjunction before. They hooked Jake up to machines that extracted something from his blood, his cells, his very energy. They transferred it to Varana through tubes and wires and devices that glowed with purple light. Jake felt himself growing weak, but he didn't care. He watched Varana's face as color slowly returned to her skin. He watched her breathing become stronger, steadier. He watched life flow back into her as his own energy flowed out. "That's enough," Chen finally said, pulling Jake away from the machines. "Any more and you'll collapse. We've given her what she needs. Now we wait." Jake barely heard him. The room was spinning. He felt hands catch him as his legs gave out. The last thing he saw before darkness took him was Varana's eyes opening, clear and aware, looking directly at him. When Jake woke up, he was in a medical bed. His body felt hollow, like someone had scooped out his insides and left only skin. But he was alive. He turned his head and saw Captain Hayes sitting in a chair beside him. "Welcome back," she said. "You've been out for 6 hours. You gave almost too much. The doctors say you'll need weeks to fully recover." "Varana?" Jake asked, his voice rough. Hayes smiled. "She's stable." "The child is stable. Whatever you did, it worked. They're going to make it." Relief flooded through Jake so strongly that tears came to his eyes. "Thank God. Thank weird alien biology and desperate medicine," Hayes said. "But yeah, thank God, too. Morrison, do you have any idea what you've done here? This isn't just saving lives. This is first contact. This is proof that humans and aliens can work together, can create life together. This changes everything." Before Jake could respond, the door opened. Quillari guards entered, followed by Dr. Chen and Hirath. They were supporting Varana between them. She looked weak, but alive, and her belly was even larger than before. "She insisted on seeing you," Hirath said with disapproval in her voice, "even though she should be resting." Varana pulled away from them and walked to Jake's bed on her own. She sat down carefully on the edge and took his hand. "You saved me," she said simply. "You gave your own life force to preserve mine. No Quillari male has ever done such a thing. You are more than I ever expected, Jake Morrison." "I told you," Jake said with a weak smile. "Humans protect our kids. And their mothers." Varana placed his hand on her swollen belly. Under his palm, Jake felt movement. Strong, definite movement. Their daughter, very much alive. "She kicks," Varana said softly. "The doctors say it will not be long now, perhaps another week. Our daughter will be born, Jake. Against all odds, all logic, all possibility, she will be born." "What are you going to name her?" Captain Hayes asked from her chair. Varana looked at Jake, and he looked back at her. Without words, they both seemed to know. "Maya," they said together. It was a name that existed in both human and Quillari languages, meaning different but similar things. In English, it meant illusion or dream. In Quillari, it meant new beginning. "Maya," Hayes repeated, testing the name. "That's perfect." 7 days later, after another crisis and another desperate medical procedure combining human and Quillari techniques, Maya was born. She came into the universe screaming with strong lungs, a sound that was neither fully human nor fully Quillari, but something new, something that had never existed before. Jake held his daughter for the first time and looked into eyes that were warm brown like his, but shaped like her mother's. Her skin was pale purple, but her hair was dark like human hair. She was small but already showed signs of being strong. She was impossible, but she was real. Queen Varana lay exhausted but alive on her bed, watching Jake hold their daughter. "What have we created?" she whispered. Jake looked at Maya, then at Varana, then at the crowd of humans and Quillari who had gathered to witness this birth. Enemies who had become allies, strangers who had become family, all because of one impossible child. "Hope," Jake said quietly. "We created hope." Maya was 6 months old, and already she could speak simple words in both English and Quillari. She was growing fast, learning faster, her mind developing at a rate that amazed every doctor who examined her. Her existence had been broadcast across both human and Quillari space, and the galaxy had opinions. Some called her a miracle. Others called her an abomination. Jake stood in his quarters aboard the bioship, looking at the official documents on his datapad. Earth Defense Force had offered him an honorable discharge. They wanted him to become a formal liaison between humans and Quillari, a bridge between two species who were slowly, carefully learning to trust each other. But accepting meant giving up his old life completely. It meant never going home to Earth as a simple soldier. It meant tying his fate to the Quillari, to Varana, to their daughter forever. The door chimed. "Come in," Jake said. Varana entered, carrying Maya in her arms. The child's face lit up when she saw Jake. "Papa," she said clearly, reaching out with small arms. Jake took his daughter and held her close. She was warm and alive and perfect, and every time he held her, he marveled at what they had created. "Hey, little one, were you good for your mother?" "She is always good," Varana said, but there was tension in her voice. Jake knew that tone. Something was wrong. "What happened?" he asked. Varana walked to the window and looked out at the stars. "I received word from Duke Morven. He has formally challenged my right to rule. He claims that my pregnancy with an alien has compromised my judgment and shamed the Quillari people. He is gathering support among the conservative houses." Jake felt anger rise in his chest. "Can he actually take your throne?" "If he gains enough support, yes," Varana said quietly. "Our laws allow for a queen to be removed if she is deemed unfit. A council vote can strip me of my title. Morven is using Maya as proof that I am unfit. He calls her a mistake, a corruption of our bloodline." "And what do the people think?" Jake asked. "The ones who aren't politicians, what do they believe?" "They are divided," Varana admitted. Some see Maya as hope. The scientists who have studied her blood say she is immune to the plague that kills our males. If we can understand why, we might cure it. But others are afraid. They fear change. They fear humans. They fear what Maya represents. Maya made a small sound and reached for her mother. Jake handed the child over, watching as Varana held her close. The queen looked tired, older than she had months ago. The weight of ruling while raising an impossible child was taking its toll. "There's something else," Varana said. "Something I learned this morning. There have been threats against Maya, against you. Some radical Quillari have sworn to kill you both to purify our race." Jake's blood ran cold. "How serious are these threats?" "Serious enough that I am increasing security," Varana said, "and serious enough that I think we need to consider hiding Maya, sending her somewhere safe until this political storm passes." "No," Jake said immediately. "We don't hide our daughter. We protect her here, together." "You cannot protect her from everything," Varana said, and her voice broke slightly. "You are one man, Jake. A good fighter, yes, but one man. If professional assassins come for her, if a small army comes, what can you do?" "Whatever I have to," Jake said firmly. "But you're right that we need help. Let me contact my people. Danny, Sophie, the twins, they'll come. They're good soldiers, and they care about Maya." Before Varana could respond, alarms started blaring throughout the ship. Red lights flashed, and a voice spoke rapidly in Quillari over the intercom. "What's happening?" Jake demanded. Varana's face went pale. "An attack. Someone is attacking the royal nursery." They ran through the corridors, Varana holding Maya tight against her chest. Guards joined them, weapons drawn. By the time they reached the nursery wing, smoke filled the air and bodies lay on the ground. Both Quillari guards and attackers, all dead. Jake's military training took over. He checked the bodies quickly. These are professionals. Good equipment, good training. This wasn't some random extremist. This was planned. "Maya's caretakers," Varana gasped, running into the nursery. Jake followed and found 3 Quillari females dead on the floor. They had died protecting the room where Maya would have been sleeping if she hadn't been with her parents. "This is my fault," Varana whispered, tears running down her face. "They died because of me, because I brought you here, because I created Maya." "No," Jake said harshly. "They died because some cowards attacked innocent people. Don't you dare blame yourself. Don't you dare blame our daughter." But Varana was right about one thing. They couldn't protect Maya alone, not against this level of threat. That night, Jake used secure communications to contact his old team. Danny Price answered first, his face appearing on the screen. "Jake," Danny said, grinning, "we wondered if you'd ever call. How's fatherhood treating you?" "Danny, I need help," Jake said without preamble. "Someone tried to kill Maya today. We stopped them, but there will be others. I need soldiers I can trust. Will you come?" Danny's grin faded. "Of course. Give me coordinates. The whole team will be there in 3 days." True to his word, Danny arrived with Sophie Lane and the Martinez twins. They came in a small, fast ship, avoiding official channels. When Jake met them in the docking bay, it felt like coming home. "So this is the alien ship," Sophie said, looking around with wide eyes. "It's amazing. The technology here is decades ahead of ours." "Focus, Sophie," Danny said. "We're here for security, not a research trip." He turned to Jake and gripped his shoulder. "Show us where we're needed. We'll keep your daughter safe." Jake briefed them on the threats, on Duke Morven's political maneuvering, on the assassination attempt. His team listened without interrupting, their faces growing serious. "This Morven guy," Kyle Martinez said. "Where is he now?" "In his own territory," Jake said. "He has his own ships, his own army. We can't just attack him." "Maybe not," Kevin Martinez said, his twin brother nodding in agreement. But we can investigate. Find out who's funding these assassins. Follow the money. I can do that, Sophie said immediately. Give me access to your computer systems. I'll start tracing transactions, communications, anything that might connect Morven to the attack. Over the next week, Sophie worked with Quillari intelligence officers to track the conspiracy. What she found was worse than they feared. Duke Morven wasn't working alone. He had allies among the humans, too. There's a group called the Terra Coalition, Sophie explained, showing them files on a holographic display. They're human extremists who don't want any contact with aliens. They think any alliance with the Quillari will contaminate humanity. They've been funding Morven's political campaign and likely his assassination attempts, too. So we're fighting enemies on both sides, Danny said. It gets worse, Sophie continued. I found communications between Morven and a human admiral named Gregory Blake. They're planning something big. I can't decrypt all of it, but I caught words like simultaneous strike and initiate war. I think they're planning to start a conflict between our species. Jake felt sick. If they start a war, thousands will die, maybe millions, and Maya will be blamed. She'll be seen as the cause of it all. Then we stopped them, Varana said. She had been listening quietly, but now she stepped forward. We expose their conspiracy. We show both our peoples that the real threat is not each other, but those who would manipulate us into fighting. We'll need proof, Jake said. Solid evidence that can't be denied or dismissed. I can get it, Sophie said. But I'll need to physically access their computer systems. That means getting close to either Morven or this Admiral Blake. Too dangerous, Danny said immediately. It's the only way, Sophie insisted. Unless you have a better idea. Jake looked at his team, then at Varana, then at Maya sleeping peacefully in her mother's arms. His daughter, innocent and unaware of the forces gathering against her. The child who could bring two species together or tear them apart. We do this smart, Jake said finally. We gather our evidence, we expose the conspiracy, and we protect Maya at all costs. Sophie, you start working on a plan to get that proof. Danny, Kyle, Kevin, you're with me on security. We're not letting anyone near our family again. Family, Varana repeated softly, looking at Jake with surprise and something else. You call us your family. What else would I call you? Jake asked. Maya is my daughter. You're her mother. That makes us family, doesn't it? No matter what species we are. Before Varana could respond, the door burst open. A Quillari guard rushed in, breathing hard. My queen, urgent news. Duke Morven has made his move. He has declared open rebellion. His fleet is heading toward your territory. He says he will take the throne by force and execute the human and the hybrid child as traitors. Varana's face hardened. She handed Maya to Jake. Take her, hide her. There is a safe location I prepared for this possibility. Coordinates are in your datapad. Take your team and go. Keep her safe while I deal with Morven. I'm not leaving you to face him alone, Jake protested. You must, Varana said, because if I fall, if Morven kills me, Maya must survive. She is the future, Jake. She is proof that our species can be more together than apart. Promise me you will protect her. Promise me. Jake wanted to argue, wanted to fight, wanted to stay and face the threat together. But he looked at Maya in his arms and knew Varana was right. Their daughter's safety had to come first. I promise, he said. Varana touched Maya's face gently, then kissed her forehead. Be strong, my daughter. Be brave like your father. Then she turned to Jake and did something that surprised them both. She kissed him, a brief touch of lips that was both farewell and promise. Come back to us, Jake said quietly. I will try, Varana replied. Then she was gone, running toward the bridge to prepare for battle, leaving Jake holding their daughter and facing an impossible choice between duty and desire, between protecting one person he loved and abandoning another. The safe location Varana had prepared was an abandoned mining station on the edge of neutral space. Jake and his team arrived with Maya in a small, fast ship, running dark to avoid detection. The station was old and cold, but it had power and life support. More importantly, it had thick walls and only one entrance. "We can defend this," Danny said, surveying their surroundings. "For a while at least." Jake set up a makeshift bed for Maya in the most secure room. She was fussy, sensing the tension around her, but she didn't cry. Even at 6 months old, she seemed to understand that silence was important now. "Any word from Queen Verena?" Sophie asked, monitoring communications on her portable equipment. "Nothing," Jake said. "Communications blackout. Either they're in battle or someone's jamming signals. Either way, we're on our own." "Not quite," Kevin said from the entrance. "We've got company. 3 ships just appeared on sensors. They're heading this way." Jake checked his weapons. He had a rifle, 2 pistols, and enough ammunition to hold off a small force. His team had similar equipment, but if Morven had sent a real strike team, they were outnumbered and outgunned. "Defensive positions," Jake ordered. "They want Maya. They'll have to go through us first." The team spread out, taking positions that covered the main entrance and the weak points in the station's hull. Jake stayed with Maya, unwilling to leave her alone even for a moment. The attack came faster than expected. Explosions rocked the station as the enemy ships blasted through the outer doors. Then came the sound of boots on metal, weapons charging, voices shouting in both Quillari and English. "They're working together," Sophie said over the comm. "Quillari and human extremists, just like we suspected." The first wave hit them hard. Enemies in armor stormed through the entrance, firing weapons that burned holes in the walls. Danny and the twins returned fire, their human weapons cutting down attackers. But more kept coming, an endless stream of soldiers determined to reach Maya. Jake heard footsteps behind him. He spun, raising his rifle, and found himself face to face with 3 human soldiers. They wore the insignia of the Terra Coalition. "Stand aside, Morrison," one of them said. "Give us the alien spawn, and we'll let you live." "Over my dead body," Jake said. "That can be arranged," the soldier replied, raising his weapon. Jake was faster. He fired 3 shots, dropping all 3 men before they could pull their triggers. But the sound attracted more attention. More enemies were coming, pushing past his team, getting closer to Maya's room. He was out of ammunition. He drew his combat knife and prepared to fight with whatever he had left. Then he heard something that made his heart stop, Maya's voice crying out for him. "Papa!" Jake ran into the room and found a Quillari assassin standing over his daughter. The assassin had a blade raised, ready to strike. Without thinking, without hesitation, Jake threw himself between them. The blade pierced his shoulder, burning like fire. Jake grabbed the assassin's arm and twisted hard, feeling bones break. The assassin screamed. Jake took the blade and drove it into the attacker's chest, then collapsed against the wall, blood pouring from his wound. Maya crawled to him, her small hands touching his face. "Papa hurt," she said in her child's voice. "I'm okay," Jake lied. "Papa's okay." But he wasn't okay. He was bleeding badly, and his vision was going dark. He could hear the battle still raging outside, could hear his team fighting and dying to protect his daughter. He had failed. He couldn't protect her anymore. Then something amazing happened. A new sound filled the station, ships, lots of them, arriving all at once. Then voices over the communications system, clear and strong. "This is Queen Varana of the Quillari Empire. All hostile forces, stand down immediately or be destroyed." And another voice, human and familiar. "This is Captain Linda Hayes of the USS Valiant. We're here with a full battle group. Surrender now, and you will be treated according to military law. Resist, and we will show no mercy." Jake felt hope surge through him despite the pain. Varana was alive. She had come for them. The battle outside ended quickly. Caught between a Quillari fleet and human warships, the extremists had no choice but to surrender. Jake heard footsteps running toward the room, and then Varana burst through the door. She looked like a warrior queen from ancient legends, her robes torn and burned, a weapon in her hand. When she saw Jake bleeding on the floor with Maya beside him, something broke in her controlled expression. "No," she whispered, falling to her knees beside him. "No, you cannot die, I forbid it." "Not planning to," Jake said weakly. "Just taking a short break." Human medics rushed in, followed by Quillari healers. They worked on Jake's wound, stopping the bleeding, stabilizing him. Maya clung to her mother, crying now that the danger had passed. "You came," Jake said to Varana. "I thought you were fighting Morven." "I was," Varana said, "and I won. He is captured, awaiting trial for treason. But in the middle of the battle, I received intelligence from your Sophie. She found proof that Morven and your Admiral Blake were planning to attack both Earth and the Quillari homeworld. They wanted to start a war that would destroy both our species." "We had to stop them," Captain Hayes said, entering the room. "So I did something crazy. I brought the human fleet here to help the Quillari Queen. Figured it was time we started working together officially." "And my military agreed," Varana said. "When faced with a common enemy, old prejudices fell away. We fought together, humans and Quillari, side by side for the first time. And we won." Jake looked at his daughter, safe in her mother's arms. He looked at his team, battered but alive. He looked at the mixed group of human and Quillari soldiers standing together in the doorway, former enemies who had become allies. "So what happens now?" he asked. Varana smiled, and it was the most beautiful thing Jake had ever seen. "Now we build something new. Your leaders and mine have agreed to meet, to create a formal alliance, to share knowledge and resources, to face the future together." "Because of Maya," Captain Hayes added. "When people saw what extremists were willing to do to hurt one child, it changed minds, made them realize the real threat wasn't each other. Your daughter became a symbol, Morrison, a bridge between two peoples." Jake reached up and touched Maya's face. She stopped crying and looked at him with those impossible eyes, both alien and human, both strange and familiar. "No pressure, kid," he said softly. 5 years passed. Jake stood on the platform of New Hope Colony, watching the dedication ceremony. The colony was built on a neutral planet, designed and constructed by both human and Quillari engineers. It was beautiful, a blend of both species' architectural styles, full of gardens and living spaces where both peoples could thrive. Maya ran past him, chasing a group of children, both human and Quillari. She was 5 years old now, tall for her age, speaking 4 languages fluently. She was brilliant and kind, curious about everything, afraid of nothing. She was everything her parents had hoped she would be. Varana joined Jake on the platform, slipping her hand into his. They were married now, in ceremonies that honored both human and Quillari traditions. It had been controversial on both sides, but less so than expected. The galaxy was changing, slowly learning that different didn't mean dangerous. "What are you thinking about?" Varana asked. "About how strange life is," Jake said. 5 years ago, I was just a soldier. Now I'm a father, a husband, an ambassador. I have a family that includes 2 species. I'm helping build colonies on alien worlds. Sometimes I can't believe this is real." "It is real," Varana said, "and it is good. Look at them, Jake. Look at our daughter playing with children who would have been enemies in another timeline. This is what we created. Not just Maya, but this, hope, unity, a future where our peoples are stronger together." On the stage, Captain Hayes was giving a speech about cooperation and shared destiny. Behind her, human and Quillari flags flew side by side. In the crowd, Jake saw Danny and Sophie standing together, holding hands. They had become a couple during the long months of rebuilding. The Martinez twins were working as security coordinators for the new colony, training mixed teams of human and Quillari guards. "Mama, Papa, come play!" Maya called out, waving at them. Jake and Varana looked at each other and smiled. Together they walked down from the platform and joined their daughter in the garden. Around them, the colony buzzed with life and activity, humans and Quillari working together, building together, living together. It wasn't perfect. There were still those who opposed the alliance, still prejudice to overcome, still challenges ahead. But standing there in the garden with his wife and daughter, surrounded by proof that different species could become family, Jake felt something he hadn't felt in years: peace. Maya grabbed both their hands and pulled them toward the other children. "Come on," she said. "We're playing a game. I need to teach the others the rules." "What kind of game?" Varana asked. "A new one," Maya said with a mischievous smile that reminded Jake of himself. "I invented it. It's part human tag and part Quillari strategy hunt. I call it Unity Game." Jake laughed. Of course his daughter would invent games that required cooperation between species. She was born to be a bridge, raised to see possibility where others saw barriers. As the sun set over New Hope Colony, casting purple and gold light across the gardens, Jake watched his daughter teach human and Quillari children how to play together. And he knew that whatever challenges the future held, whatever obstacles remained, they would face them, as Varana had said, together. Because in the end, that was what Maya represented. Not the end of human or Quillari identity, but the beginning of something bigger. A future where the word family could stretch across species and stars, where different didn't mean divided, where the impossible could become reality with courage and hope. Jake Morrison had been a soldier who followed orders. Then he became a father who protected his child. Now he was something more. A man who helped prove that the best things in life were often the things we never planned for. The things that seemed impossible until someone was brave enough to try. And as his daughter's laughter filled the air, mixing with the voices of children from two worlds, Jake knew they had done more than survive their challenges. They had thrived. They had built something beautiful from what should have been tragedy. They had created hope in a form that would outlast them all. That was humanity's real gift to the galaxy, Jake realized. Not superior technology or military might. It was the stubborn refusal to accept that different peoples couldn't become family. It was the willingness to risk everything for love. It was the courage to father an alien queen's child and then fight the whole galaxy to protect that impossible life. The future was uncertain, but looking at Maya, at Varana, at the colony built by two species working as one, Jake knew one thing for certain. It was a future worth fighting for.